Today's class is going to be a relatively short one. We only have to cover file input-output for today's class, and that's going to be a part of the exam as well. So let's get started with them. It's going to be a plain Java application. We're not going for JavaFX here. And it's going to be our file.io demo. And what we're trying to do here today is just to write to files and to read from files. Okay. All our applications that we have built so far, once we run them and once it's done, all the data that we deal with are lost. Okay. So whenever we say something like system.out.println, let's just do this hello world application. And when we run that, this output, you just see it in our console and it's gone as soon as you run your application. If you wrote 1,000 lines of data, everything is gone. Okay. To run it again, like you have to go through the whole thing and then you just see it on the console. There is no permanent copy of this thing anywhere. So that's a problem, because next time when we run this application, we are not going to get the previous data that we have somehow. And to put it into perspective, let's just say that if I ask you guys to fill out your student information form that you fill out when you get admitted in Southeast University, if you are asked to fill out that form every time you walk into the class, would you like that? Definitely not. I mean, that information is already taken from you. We already know what's your address, what's your phone number, what's your father's name and all that. We know that, and that's kept in a database. It's kept somewhere. So in today's discussion, we are trying to find out how we can read from a file all the data that we have there, and also how to write to a file. And to keep things simple, we're going to use a single class really. It's called random access file. So whenever we're working with files, I mean, let me just give you a very simple example. Let's say this is a file, and we can open it with a notepad or any other similar application. This is gedit over here. And we can write like this is the first line, for example, and here goes the second line. Okay. Now when we open this file, what would happen is that if I save this thing, let's say I'm saving it on my desktop, it's called input.txt. Okay. So if I save this and close this file, and the next time I open this, open desktop and input.txt somewhere over here, I found that here. So I can open this, and over here you see that I'm taken right to the end of the file, and I can add some more stuff over here. Okay. So with the class that we're going to use today, this is called random access file. This is going to ensure that we don't necessarily end up right at the end or not right at the beginning, but we can jump anywhere inside the file and make edits. So we'll have the freedom to jump around. Like if I say that I want to go to character number 3, so 0, 1, 2, 3, if I want to go here, I'll be able to do that, and then if I want to change a few of the characters there or insert something new, I'll be able to do so. So this class that we are using for reading and writing today, it's pretty powerful, and you'll quickly get the hang of it. So without further ado, let me just get started. So let me just show you how to write something to a file first. Okay, so this is going to be for output. And when we do that, first of all, we have to import this because this random access file class is not in our path. it actually comes from java.io. So either you write it out, the fully qualified name, just like this, or you import that. Okay, they'll serve the same purpose. In NetBeans, you can actually hold down Alt or Enter and have NetBeans import for you. So let me show you the other way as well. What I'm saying is that you don't have to write this by yourself. So when NetBeans says that there is an error over here, and you know that this error is due to an import problem because it says cannot find symbol random access file. So hold down Alt or hit Enter, and then you get this menu, and it says that add import for java.io.random access file. So I don't have to type that. It pretty much does what I just did in our previous step. So that's one of the things. Now we need to create an object. Well, output is the name of the object. We need to instantiate it. In Java, when we create an object, well, if you just write this, it only declares that there will be an object, and the name of the object is going to be output. It's not going to allocate any memory for you. It's not going to do any task for you. So in order to do those things, you'd have to call the constructor for that class. And the way we call the constructor is through new. New random access file. And at this point, you're supposed to give in two parameters for random access file. One is what's the name of the file that you're trying to open. Or let me just say that this is going to be our data file. So data.txt. Okay, and we want to write something to this file. Okay, so we need to indicate that with a W as a mode over here. Actually, this is not going to work just with W, but understand that W means write. We want to write something to this file. Okay. However, whenever we are trying to write something to a file, we actually have to read where are we, or if I want to say that I want to go to the end of the file or at the beginning of the file, I need to be able to read exactly where my location is. So write doesn't stand alone. So this write thing doesn't work alone. You need read along with it. However, you'd see that when we're trying to read from a file, you don't have to have the write access. But to write something, you have to have the read access as well. Okay? It's a little different. So you have to create an object, and we're calling the constructor, and this is what you need right now. So specify the file name and specify the mode. The mode can be read, the mode can be write, the mode can be read-write, a combination of both. And there can be some other modes, like if you're dealing with binary files, those has to be treated in a slightly different way, which I'm not covering right now. So all we are doing is dealing with text files for now. But even with this little thing, you see that we still have problems. Our code doesn't compile. And there is this red wiggly line right underneath. It says that something's wrong, right?
So এখানে কি data.txt ফাইলটা কি ক্রিয়েট হবে ফার্স্ট টাইম নাকি সেটা এক্সিস্ট আছে?
Thanks for bringing that up. There are two things that are going to happen. If you are writing to a file, then that file doesn't have to exist. Okay, it may exist, it may not exist. If the file is already existing, you can overwrite in that file. Okay. If the file is not there, if you're trying to write to that file, it's going to create that file first, then it's going to write that. However, when you're trying to read from a file, that file must be there for you to read, right? Otherwise, it's a problem. And actually, that's how things are designed over here, and that's the complaint. So when I took my cursor to the problem, to the balloon, it says unreported exception, file not found exception, must be caught or declared to be thrown. So the way Java developers have designed this language with all these libraries and everything, they've been quite picky about these things. Like they wanted to stay safe. So as a programmer, when you're trying to work with a file, it's your responsibility to be prepared. What if the file is not there? It can be an exceptional situation, right? If I'm trying to read from a file and the file is not there, I certainly cannot work with my program. A similar error that you may have had encountered is that, let me just make up this scenario, that you're trying to download a large movie from the internet. Okay? But you have downloaded a lot of stuff in the recent past, so you ran out of space in your hard drive. And your internet download manager is starting to download that movie and you ran out of space. So what's going to happen? If your program crashes, let's say it's a 3 gigabyte size, the movie is 3 gigabyte, and after downloading 2.5 gigabyte, it says that there is no space, so I terminate this thing right now. Would you be happy with that? No, because you spent quite a bit of time to download 2.5 gigabyte of data, and suddenly the whole thing crashes just because you don't have enough space. What you'd have preferred is that before the space ran out, you got some sort of warning, and you got an option that you're running out of space, so make some more room, or give a new download location where I can download this thing. Right? This is something you may expect from your program, and that would be much better as a user to that program, because now that with that thing you're not wasting time, you can still work with your program, save it somewhere else, or make enough room. I mean, I constantly get that thing on my office computer and also my home computer. I run out of space, gives me a warning, I empty my trash or whatever, make some room, and things get back to normal again. So when it comes back to reading from a file, it could be that by chance or for any reason you lost that file there, or you may have moved it to some other place. So if you can't read it from here, it would be nice if you get a dialog that I can't find the file, browse it for me. Okay, show me where it is. And previously when, back in the days when you had to install driver for Windows hardware, you had to locate the driver files somewhere. Like if it cannot find the drivers in proper place, it would prompt you with a file browser, go and find that file for me, then I can install that hardware for you. Okay, so this is a common scenario. Like I'm looking for something, and that resource is not there, so help me out. And those sort of provisions can be given to you as a programmer if you have the ability to handle the exceptions. So the normal behavior is that the state of file will be there. This is the expected behavior. What if it's not there? That's an exception. So Java programmers, we should be prepared to try this thing. Let's say I'm trying to create a random access file. Okay, this is what I'm trying. But I should be ready to catch an exception, which is called file not found exception, and we have to create an object for this. I'm calling it FNFE just for a particular reason that, well, it's file not found exception. I need another import for this. Okay, so now that we know this, the least I could do is that when the file is not there, I could at least tell the user that the file is not there. Right? So system.r.println data.txt file is missing. Okay. We can print that out and the user gets notified about this problem. You see, there is a little bit of difference over here. I could have written system.out.println, and instead I chose to write system.r.println, ERR for R. Now, the thing is, this is all right. I mean, if you choose to do this way, this is fine. But there are certain output which is a little bit different. Like those are error messages, and you can filter them out if you want to. If you take them to a different channel, and this error channel is something else. So we deal with three sort of channels usually when we're doing console output. One is the input channel, which is system.in for Java, system.out for regular output, and system.r, that's for erroneous outputs. So there are two type of output channels that you get to use here. So just by doing that, you see the output is, well, the error is not there anymore, and if you run this program, well, it simply does nothing, right? And let's go back to our original directory. This is our summer 2017 Java, and we got file.io demo. You see, after running this file program, let me delete this to show you again. Now we don't have any data.txt, but as soon as we run this program, we get data.txt. If you try to open this up, there is nothing in there. Is this clear? Okay, so let's do something fun then.
So only your message charge for it.
Because you're not trying to read, you're trying to write. That's just because of the mode. So this is what I was saying, is that when you're trying to write to a file, if it's not there, it's going to create that file for you. But when you're only reading from a file, it has to be there. That's why you see that error message. And yeah, that's also a good opportunity for me to show you exactly what happens. See, when I run this, this message is printed in red. That's because it's an error message. But if I instead use system.out, I'd still get the error message, but as a regular text. This is in black now, right? So error messages should show up as error messages. So that's why you need to ensure that you're writing system.r, not system.out. Is this clear?
Exception
This is a class. This is an exception class, and it's a different type of class which helps you catch all these problems. There are some defined problems. Like let's say you got an array of 5 elements and you want to access the 6th element. As a programmer, you can make that mistake, right? But those mistakes need to be caught, and that's why we have exceptions like this. And that exception, for example, is called array index out of bounds exception. This one is guarding against a file not found, so it's called file not found exception. So since we are trying to write to this file rw, let's write something to it. We can say output dot write to write a string. You're going to call write bytes, and then you can write out your text just like this. See, I'm trying to write it, but we have a problem. It doesn't let me write because we have another problem. It says unreported exception, IO exception must be caught or directly thrown. So this is not only the file not found exception that we have to worry about. There's also something called IO exception that we must catch. And when we catch that, then that's fine. It creates a data file, and now if you reload this, it says hello world. So that is done. So what's this issue with I/O exception? I mean, you've got to understand that part as well. The way we write this write bytes is easy. You just give the object name, they call write bytes, and pass a string to it. It will write that for you in the file. But there are a lot of things that can go wrong when you're actually writing to that file. For example, let's say I check for the file, and the file is there. So that's fine, right? So we don't have this file not found exception. But it could be that the file is there, but it has write access disabled. It's a read-only file. Then we can't write to it. Okay? So it can be I/O exception right at that point. It could also be that the file it has bad sectors. Well, the hard drive has bad sectors where the file resides. So when you're trying to write to that sector, it doesn't let you. So that can be another exception. Another made-up exception. Let's say I use my pen drive and I'm trying to save to this. Okay, I plug in my pen drive. The file is there. I start writing to it. It's a lot of things that I'm writing. It's taking some time. And right in the middle, I take it out. So what's going to happen? Can I still write to the file if I have my pen drive in my hand, not stuck to the computer? It's not going to work, right? It has to be attached to the computer. So physically, if I remove the device, then also the computer program cannot write to that file, although the file was there when it started to work. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong. And as a programmer, Java allows you all these nice little features that, well, you thought about writing this program and you had this ideal situation in mind. But when you actually run these things, they can go wrong. So as a programmer, you should put some guards against it. These are the guards. What if things go wrong? What are you going to do? Okay? So for now, we are not going to do anything fancy. We're at least letting our users know that we can't do this thing for some reason. Okay? This is still better than doing nothing, right? If your program crashes without giving you any sort of feedback, then that's really bad. This at least tells you what's happening. Okay? So that's for writing one line. And if you want to write 10 lines, that's also possible. You just do it 10 times, right? And we can write a for loop output.writeBytes. So I just want to print the number. Okay. So I run this thing, and if you go back to your data file, you see that it has changed, and all these outputs are just like this. They're all in the same line because I'm printing them with write bytes. It's unlike system.out.println. There is a ln at the end, which means that it will add the new line by itself. But this thing doesn't do any such thing. So if you really want a new line, it's your responsibility to throw that new line character in here. And the same thing goes over here. So with that little change, you see that after every line now we get line. Is this clear? So can we now write to a file? What are the things that you need to write to a file? Create an object of random access file, call the constructor, give the file name, and the read-write mode. The name of the file. Sure, we can do that. Then you'd have to read from the user, and it can be done in a lot of ways. One simple way can be by using scanner, or you can also use the buffered reader. So let me show you one example. So we can create a scanner object which is going to scan from the keyboard, and you can say that, well, this is the text, right? This is what I want to read. Say I'm going to read a message from the keyboard, and the message is going to come as scanner dot next line. I want to read a line, and that whole thing goes into a message. Now I can say that, well, instead of saying hello world, I want to write my message. Okay, so when we run this program now, it's waiting for my input. So I'm going to say this is something new, for example, and I hit enter, and that content goes over here. Okay, so we can easily do that. We can read something from the user and then write it out, or we could hard code something, and that works. So let's say I want to modify this thing. I don't want to write 10 lines like that, but I want to read something from the user. So let's prompt the user. So I tell the user that enter the line that you want to save to the file, and then I type in hi there. So I hit enter, and that text hi there gets saved. However, what you'd notice is that if I type in something that's smaller than what it was there, all the stuff that I had from the start still stays there. Okay. It's overriding, but it's not fully erasing everything. Do you get the problem? Because hi there just stops at that point, and then we got the rest of the stuff over here. So to fix this thing, like if this is what you want, that every time you write something, everything will get deleted and you start fresh. If this is what you want, then you can do that quite easily by saying, after creating this random access file, you just say output.setLength 0. The length of this whole file will be set to 0. That essentially means that everything that you have in there will be gone. So let me try this again. We're just going to say hi, because it's even smaller than hi there. And if you look at your data file now, see, everything is gone. Okay? So this set length, this method is useful if you want to erase everything that you have in the file. Set length 0 in particular. Is this clear? Okay. What if, this is another scenario, that what if I got something in my file, I don't want to delete that, and anything else that I want to write, I want it right after. So the first line says hi, I want to write another line running the program at a different time, and I want to add to that. How do I write that? Because if I say set length 0, then every time I run this thing, it's always going to reset the whole thing. Finally, this says useful to use. Now, in order to do that, we have to know how far we have written in the file. How many characters are already there, so that we don't go and destroy those. Okay? So for example, here we got how many characters? 2 characters. So let's modify our code a little bit. just like we got set length, we got a length method that tells you the number of bytes that are already there in the file. So when we run this thing, length of the file, it says 3. And actually 3 is the length of the file because we got HI and a new line character. So altogether 3 characters in there. Okay? But I commented out these lines, so it's not going to write whatever in here. Now that we know the length of the file through output.length, we can use that idea for something. See, I have this variable existing length, and that can be found from output.length call, and this is actually a long type. Okay, so we know the existing length. What we need to do to go to that point is just call output.seek. That seek call actually takes your file pointer to a certain position, and the position that we are giving over here is the existing length. That means that go to the end. All right, and then start writing. Yes, come in. So when we say something new and hit enter, you see, if you look at the file, the first line says hi, the next line says something new. Okay, and now we can run our program one more time. And say hello there. So if you reload this file, you see that it says hello there. So we got 3 lines now. Is this idea clear? So when we are writing to a file, if you don't say anything, it's going to start overwriting, starting over here. And there are 2 things that you can do. You can ensure that you delete everything in the file. You can do that through set length 0. And if you want to start from the very end, you don't want to delete all these things, then the solution is you have to know what's the existing length that you can find with the length method, and then you seek for the position and put your cursor over here. So this is all I wanted to cover about writing to a file. Can we now write? Okay, that's also easy. Just put this part in a while loop. So right here it says enter the line that you want to save to the file, and this is just done one time, right? So instead of doing that, why not repeat that multiple times? So I don't know how many lines you want to add, right? Let's do that then. Let's say while this is true, I'm going to keep on doing this. Okay? And there has to be a way of terminating this, but otherwise it's going to go on indefinitely. So let's just say that when the message equals done, that's the indicator that I'm done with it. So that's the solution. Like we put the whole thing in a while loop, and let me try this out. So see, right now the data file shows you that we got 3 lines. So this is the first line of this run. Okay, and if you look at the file now, it got updated, but we are still running this program. You see the second line follows, and it's still asking me again, enter the line that you want to save. So every time that we are doing something, like one after another line, it gets added and added till you type in DONE, just like that. And that's when your program stops, because you find a if condition over here and you break out of this while true loop. That's an infinite loop, and you break out of it, and we're done. Is this clear? Okay, so this is all about writing, right? So let us organize things a little bit better. Let's say that this is our write method, and this is what we do. All that thing that we have done can be thrown inside that public void write method. And to
Shouldn't I extend it to terminal?
yeah, I'm not going that route. Like we talked about this yesterday, that if you have a constructor, and you call write from there, then you don't have to have it as static. So in order to ensure that your constructor gets called, you just have to say file IO demo some object name equal to new file IO demo, and that way this takes you over here, and that in turn calls the write method. Is this clear? So the reason I do it in this way is because I want to show you how to read from a file. And I also want to see save that part, what I've already done in writing to a file. Is writing part clear? Do we have any questions? Okay. So then let's focus on reading. I want to follow the same strategy, public void read. So all the read related matters will be over here, and we're going to call that method from here. So right now I don't want to write, so I've commented that out, and let's focus on reading for now. Similar stuff, as I said before, that we're going to use the same stuff, the same random access file. See, over here we are reading with writing with random access file, so that's exactly what we're going to use here. It's called random access file input equal to new random access file, and the syntax says I have to pass two things. One is the name of the file, which is data.txt, and the mode, which in this case is not read write. This is only to read, right? So we do that, but at the same time, I mean, this is complaining because we haven't caught that file not found exception, which is crucial at this point. So how do we fix that? Write try followed by curly brace. This is what we are trying to do. End curly brace. We should catch a exception, and that exception is yes. When the file is missing, that's when you'd come to this part. Okay, so we have talked about it, and if you guys understood that part, allow me to cheat and put this part over here. This is just telling the user that something's wrong. And now if I want to read from that file, it's easy. You just call read line, and that gives you a line just like that. Let me wrap it around with brackets just so you can see it better. So what I'm doing over here is that I'm actually, I got a file handle called input. Using that input, I'm reading from the file. I'm reading a single line, not the whole file. Okay. And that's kept in an object called line. And then I'm printing read followed by the line over here, read, whatever. So what I read from the file is high. Is that right? Do we have high as the first line? Yes, we do. Now, if I change this file over here to say CAC2015 and save that, and run this program again. See, that works. So you can edit your file externally and start reading with your Java program. It still works. Okay. Now the next obvious question is, now that we can read a single line, can we read all the lines? The answer is quite simply yes. Yes, we can. Yeah, just why not throw it out in a while true method, and let's see what happens. If you let it run, it says read null, because it keeps on going. It's trying to read something, but that thing is not there. We only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, right? What happens after that? Null happens. There is nothing to read, and that's what's happening. So we need to be able to fix this, and the way you fix this is quite easy. If line is equal null, if there is nothing else to read, stop, right? How do you stop from a loop? Thank you. So we break, and done. Okay, so we got 5 lines in the file, and in the 6th line we get a null. So that's what we find when we're trying to read from here, and we break out of it. Okay. What this means for your assignment, now that you know how to read from a file, that you can write to a file, you can save all your data. In your assignment, we're working with a monthly budget planner, right? The idea is that someone will use your program at the beginning of the month or even beforehand and plan a few things out. That this is the amount of money I want to spend for transportation. This is the amount I want to spend for rent. And this is the amount I want to spend behind books and other stuff that I want to buy, or for food. So these are all the planned numbers. I don't want to run my program and enter all these values every time I run it. If I do that, then using this program is going to be pointless. There is no sense of saving my data, right? So whatever data we are saving, we should be able to write to a file. So all these things, even if you change something later on, you should be able to update your records. Okay? So you can write some lines of code in your program that saves all these expense data, or let's say income data. And then for day-to-day transaction, you can write those out as well. That I paid bus fare of 20 taka today. So today's date, whatever money you paid, for what purpose, you write it out in multiple lines or the same line. You can do it in many different ways. Once you do that, the next time you run your program can actually read those files and load up all the data, and then you can work on those. Okay. So based on just these two very simple examples, one that shows you how to write to a file and how to read from a file, you should be able to take the idea from here and plug it into your assignment in one way or another. Try it out by yourself first. If you get stuck, feel free to bring it to me, and I will help you out in that. But try it for yourself first. Otherwise, you're never going to learn. Now, as far as the exam goes, I said that there will be a question about reading from a file and writing to a file. I'll give you very specifics. For example, I may ask you to write the numbers from 1 to 10 into a file. So you should be writing into a file, so you have to create a random access file object, give it a name, open it with read-write mode, and then you have to run a loop for I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. What do? You don't do system.out.println. Instead you do output.writeBytes and send the data what you want to write. Okay. Your idea needs to be clear, like what you're going to do about it. So it could be something about writing to a file, or it could be also about reading from a file. I showed you both the things, and the exam question will simply check whether you're able to do these things. Any question about these things? Nope.
So how to delete a file?
What I showed over here is how to delete all the contents of a file, not the file itself. But yes, what you're asking is important as well, not for this particular application, but I'll ask you to look this up. The class that you want to look at is called file, F-I-L-E. So if you look for Java File API, there is a class called file, and it allows you to access all the files in a directory. You can create new files, you can also delete files, and do a whole lot of stuff. So this is what you're going to look at. I don't want to give you a specific method name, you can look it up. Just go for this API, see all the methods that's there, and you'll easily find which one to call. Like I can already see the method that you need to call.
So this random access file is not
No. Random access file is for managing the content inside the file, not the file itself. Anything else? Alright, if not, then I'll end this class a little bit early today. I need to go to the bank with Sharia sir. We've got to open an account for the department.
So I'll give you class also.
No classes tomorrow. We only have the English exams today, English 1001 and English 1002, but from tomorrow and onwards till 13th July, there won't be any classes. So, we'll meet again on, well actually not on 14th. 14th is fortunately a Friday. So, yeah, our next class is on 17th, right? And on 18th, Tuesday's our lab, right? So on 18th, just to remind you, we got a quiz. And for the exam, I already gave you detailed instruction on how the question patterns would be. Right? When's our exam, by the way? The Java exam? The very last date? Okay. I'll be available, like either in office, or if you need some help with any particular topic, feel free to post through our classroom or send me an email. I'll try to help out. Or if you find me in office, feel free to drop by with whatever topic is bothering you. Okay. So I hope that you prepare well for the exam. Good luck. And that's gonna be it.